You're listening to the Wife Wednesday Radio Network. Find, follow, and like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and more. You can hear us across the U.S. and around the world on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, and more. Now, here are your favorite radio wives.
Hey everybody, it's Wednesday and I'm one of your wives, Cena.
And I'm Nicole.
We're back with a whole new season of the Wife Wednesday show, and you can now find us on every major podcast platform across the country.
That's right, so sit back, relax, and join us for this week's episode here on the Wife Wednesday Radio Network.
Hey wives, this is a special edition of Wife Wednesday, and I'm Dustin.
And I'm Shauna. We're the parents.
We're bringing you some great spooky stories and more here on the Wife Wednesday Radio Network. Come hang out with us. What a week it's been. Hey everybody, my name is Dustin, also commonly referred to as Daddy.
And I'm Shauna, or I'm also known as the side bit. We have changed my name to Poppy though, and this is the Meet the Parents hour of Wife Wednesday.
I'm here for Poppy.
I'm here for Daddy.
So you have heard us every once in a while on a few episodes. In the past, our favorite wives, Cena and Nicole, they're out under the weather this week. So Shauna and I are here taking over for a special edition of the show. Now, it's not quite Halloween, but who cares? The season of Spook is still amongst us, even though we're in November. We've definitely picked out some of our favorite stories. We were going to go with Reddit, but let's be honest. Our own stories are probably better. So that's what we're going to go with today. So in true Wife Wednesday fashion, we're going to hit some facts of the week, and then Shauna's got some birthdays of some people that we all love and adore. Well, none of us.
I wouldn't say that.
Now,
some of them are not so loving.
Yeah, some of them are not so loving, and God knows we don't know any of them. So,
you're in a typical parenting fashion. I start having a hot flash as soon as it starts. Isn't that hot?
Got
So if you hear the wafting in the microphone, you know why. Oh, wait. I got this, Boo. You keep going. I got this. Wait.
Oh my word.
My gay Todrick Hall fan is not present. It's in my other bag.
You are on the struggle bus and we just started.
Sorry.
You're all right.
Not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. All right. So back in 2018, a tiger who hunted and killed 13 people was killed after a large-scale hunt in central India. I don't remember any of this. I don't know.
Do.
Apparently my mind is blacked out. Like
it was right after that whole like giant snake ate the woman incident, and people were like, they can eat whole people. I'm like, yes.
Oh God.
Did you miss that story too?
Well, listen, I just said I like blacked out those years from my so I don't remember why. I just did.
I couldn't.
It didn't exist for me. So in 2015, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 with Jennifer Lawrence premiered in Berlin, Germany. I don't know why that particular part is important, but I do love the Hunger Games trilogy, or whatever that it technically is called. I'm not good with the words today.
Words are hard.
Words are very hard, especially after what I read on Reddit today. Oh my God. In 2012, the New York City Marathon was canceled due to Hurricane Sandy. It was the first time that marathon had been canceled in its 42 years of running, which is kind of an oxymoron, marathon and 42 years of running.
Oh, it's punny. That's what it is.
It's very
giant punny.
Enjoy a good pun.
That's a dad-sized pun there.
Oh. In 1983, Martin Luther King Jr. Day was officially made a federal U.S. holiday by President Ronald Reagan. He initially rejected the holiday's proposal, claiming it would cost too much, but eventually came around and signed it into law. As a result, the first Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration occurred nearly 3 years later on January 20th, 1986. That's before my time. Just thought I would throw that out there.
You did. Wow. The shade goes long with you. Again, I would like to point out that according to the Harry Potter canon, just stating, they are officially, Draco and Harry are 1 and 2 months older than me.
Yeah.
older than me. And that like blew my mind. I was like, boom, because when I was living in London, they were filming the first Harry Potter movies. So the actors are like 9 years younger than me or somewhere in there.
Oh my god.
Maybe a little bit like 8 years younger than me, but in the books, I guess I'm the baby.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me of this because so with the character Hagrid passing uh
Oh god, that was
recently.
so sad.
I know that's very sad.
Yeah, it's
Uh
Robbie Coltrane, right?
they were well, it was between that and I'm not good with the names of the real people, but
Mhm.
Draco, that guy had a book come out recently and he like covers some of the cool facts of like what they did in the movie, like how they made the
Mhm.
movies happen or whatever. And
Mhm.
he was talking about this like the scenes where Harry would be flying around on a broomstick or whatever,
Mhm.
to get the golden snitch or dragon or vampire, whatever. There's none of those things in Harry Potter, probably. I don't remember. It's been a while. I'm gonna be in so much trouble
Let's just go
after
with a
this thing's done.
snitch
We'll just go with the snitch. I'm gonna
and
get
go ahead and address all hate mail, care of daddy. and,
that's
we'll,
right.
and
Just
we will happily give him one giant beating with the paddle every single email we get.
probably coming. So guess I better start series or show one or movie one. This is bad. I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead.
Just
Anyway.
stop while you're ahead. Yeah.
But it was cool because they were talking about how like they would fly around on the broom or
hmm
whatever, and
hmm
like how they would have indicators around the actor, whoever was flying, to like
hmm
look a certain way or like give a certain facial expression. And I can't remember. They had this one. It was like a yellow tennis ball they would wave around in certain spots for one thing,
hmm
and then they had this other actress's face printed and put on this other one, and she was supposed to like represent something big and important or whatever. And I was like, wow, now we just use, like, blips of light. Hmm.
We do, we do. You know, this is back in the before even the smartphones. I want to before cell phones. Like, yes, when I was living in London at the time when they were filming these, like people had the phones, but we're talking old school Nokias. You know, the ones where you could program your ring in. Mine was the Power Ranger ring, by the
Um,
way.
listen, my first cell phone had that little pull-up antenna thing, and you could snap out the little covers. It was Nokia.
Yeah, it's a Nokia. Yeah.
Great. So
I
that
would like to admit that we still use the original Nokia phones for all of our little cell phones in the hospital still. Like we can't upgrade,
well,
but we still
probably
use fax machines.
girl, you could chuck that at somebody out of a plane and it would live. Like,
That's why we have them because they literally have. I mean, I have literally. I don't know if I should say that. Never mind.
we're gonna bypass that.
We're not here to talk about placenta.
God, no.
There's the spooky part. There's the scary
Listen,
part of the whole episode.
been there, done that one time for a childbirth, and I was done.
I've been there about 7,000 times, but still, things fall.
Yes, they do. Man, let me tell you, stuff flies right out of that like a cannon. And listen, the boyfriend passed out, and I'm just standing there holding her legs, like, let's go. I don't know why we got off on this topic.
We took such a left turn.
Welcome to our special childbirth episode of Life. Oh my
We
God.
took a left turn, two Virgos with ADHD.
Yeah,
I did not take my meds today. You're welcome.
this is the day. So, hi, Sean. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we are on. If not, just blame Nicole. She asked us to record.
Like I said, all hate mail can come in care of daddy, and we will definitely take care of not listening.
Burn that up.
I snorted.
You think I'm taking that out? I'm not. It's
Don't.
going
Don't. Like everybody in my whole office has had COVID, and I said to myself yesterday, I yelled down the stairs yesterday. I said, I didn't get COVID. Everybody else did, but look at me. I'm still healthy. And I was like, I totally jinxed myself. Woke up today, a little bit of a sore throat. I'm like, damn it. It's my turn.
It is so weird
Again.
because like, it's going around really bad here around St. Louis, and
Yeah.
between that and what's the other? It's RS. Is it RSV?
RSV. Yeah, it's RSV season.
Yeah, so that's going around, and the flu is going around. Like this is the
Yeah.
triple whammy over here.
Well, it's also RSVP season, which is like holidays galore.
That's right. So just get COVID and everything else on top of it. Why?
Oh, this next wave has been brutal.
COVID.
I get the
You know, it's weird because like everybody in my family that I live with, mind you, has
Mm,
had COVID, and I've been
mhm,
around them. And
mhm,
like my grandparents had it, and like I
mhm.
went to their house to clean everything down, and I've been like perfectly fine the whole
Yeah,
time.
you've just jinxed yourself because that's what I just said
Well, see, I said
yesterday.
that before, but like,
Well, I say that too, but I'm also, like, so vaccinated, you could probably see me from space if you, like, shone a black light onto this planet Earth.
oh, I'm right there with you. As soon as they get an update, I'm like, hit
Yep,
me.
I've had 5 COVID vaccines because I was one of the first people vaccinated being a healthcare worker, and so to keep up on your every 6-month vaccinations, and then they had the new vaccination, so now it's like, I only got that 3 months after my 4th vaccination, so I'm on 5.
Oh my god, whew, that's a lot of vaccines.
I told you I'd glow. I didn't have a glow up, I just glowed.
Just a glow, not a glow up. Got it.
No up, just glow. All right, let's get
we
this started. Start
we
with your
definitely
super
went off
story.
on a slight tangent, but you have birthdays to go
Oh,
or other important dates of important.
yeah, go through that. I mean, I can tell you off the top of my head every single date for any like natural disaster or plague or anything, but when it comes to birthdays, no. So I guess birthday wise, we've got Jean-Baptiste Simeon Chardin, which is the French painter. He was born in 1699.
99.
Woo! And we already talked about Jimmy Carter winning the Nobel Prize. No, we didn't. We talked about Ronald Reagan.
Yes.
Which question? How is Martin Luther King Day going to cost anybody any money? It's called celebrating, not.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, is it because it turns into being? Is it like a paid holiday, federal holiday, or something for federal?
Well, I'm not sure because to be honest, when I went to college, mind you, way back in the day, last century, we didn't celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day like with days off until like the year 2000. So I don't know if Indiana always has, but where I was, this was not a thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I had it off in school or not. I want to say I probably did, but I don't remember. That was a while back. We're at 10 years plus now. Well, more than that, but we're going to go with 10.
Words are a struggle, math is a struggle, life is a struggle. You are on the bus.
Not really. Time to lick the windows. Okay.
Right, birthdays. We should do this. David Schwimmer, the American actor, and then I had to say this one in 1965. Shaka Khan, the Indian actor. Burt Lancaster in 1913. He was an actor and producer. Warren G. Harding, the President of the United States, born in 1865, and James K. Polk, the President of the United States, born in 1795. He was like first generation American.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And for all of those of you listening and that cannot see Shauna here on the Zoom recording, there were definite hand gestures with the Shaka Khan when she was like Shaka Khan. There were hands in the air. It was a good time. She waited for that one. We talked
Oh.
started recording. so, so in true Wife Wednesday, I'm gonna have to bleep this part out because I can't remember what I was gonna say. Oh, in true Wife Wednesday
Don't
form,
bleep it out, just like my snort. Just
I
leave
know,
it in there.
I know, just leave everything in there.
Just
Mistake.
leave it.
What is it
They'll
that?
know where the wives got it from
Oh
the two
my!
parents. They'll be like, this is why they're the way they are.
What is that? What's that thing that Bob Ross used to say? Pretty little mistakes or something like that, or
Yes, there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents.
yeah, happy little. It was a happy little accident,
I had
not
a Bob
a.
Ross calendar last year.
Oh, so she is well up to date on the sayisms.
See, this is the thing. I wanted to roll forward just now, and there's like a 5-ounce kitten under my wheels, and I'm like, that would be death.
She's becoming the cat lady at her house. She's got like 20,000 cats.
I don't. I have 5.
But yeah,
And 3 are going back. We are fostering. You guys all know the kitten lady on YouTube, and if you don't, go check her out. She's really adorable. She raises all the kittens, and so do I. So you just call me the kitten lady. So thank you.
oh, see the kitten lady. That's cute. Oh my god, I could never do that. I get too attached. That's why I got 6 dogs.
Well, I do get too attached. This I want to keep one of them, but my husband's like, "You are not keeping any more."
You cut off. No more.
Well, right, because we already have like our trash cat and our brat cat, and I was like, I want a whole brat pack. Like
Oh
this
my,
one's another little brat here that's in my hands right now, and that's because he was climbing my leg. So
I get nervous because my significant other works at a well, he works at a Tractor Supply. I will say that. So if you're familiar with that, it's a farm, and I don't know, feed.
you're gonna come home with like 40 chickens one day. He'll be like, I got them for $1.
Mother of God, you don't even know. They're coming in here in a few months. But
You are getting chickens.
it always worries me because, well, we've been down that road with chickens before. We'll go there here in a minute. But it always worries me because, like, once a month, they have vet days, right? So a vet comes in and you can get your dog and cats and whatever's moose, cow, goat, shots, whatever you bring in. Get it, up to date, whatever. And it always makes me nervous because those same days, there's usually like an adoption clinic that'll set up.
Oh dear.
Oh, yeah. That's how we got the last one. And I love Tippy. She's so cute. She's my little buddy.
Oh my
But
God, you have to wonder how she got the name Tippy. I'm just saying, like, did
I
she just
gave her
walk
that.
and fall over?
Oh, no, she like so I named her that because like so the adoption agency, they had no idea what her name was. So they called her Edith or something.
Oh
And she
God,
didn't respond to it. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a dog's name. So
no.
so my grandparents, long story short, my grandparents used to have a border collie when I was growing up, and her name was Tippy. And she would just prance around all the time. And Tippy, being an Australian Shepherd, does the same thing. You know she's coming because all you hear are just little clicks of she steps through the house. So I call her Tippy Toes and Tippy Jane and Taco Tippers and Tippopotamus. And there's a lot of cool nicknames I can go with, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
on my head. So
This is supposed to be a Halloween special. I just wanted to point that out because I know how you are, and you know how all gays are, how we are.
yeah.
Yes, we each have our holidays. So Halloween starts on July 5th and it ends for me on Thanksgiving Day. Now, for you, Christmas started probably January 1st last year, but
Not
Christmas is
at
starting soon.
Christmas hadn't ended at that time yet, Shauna.
That's right. It goes until what? St. Patrick's
At
Day,
least
Valentine's Day,
February.
at least February. For me, it's whenever the tree comes down, and that could be before Christmas, after Christmas,
Oh
or
God.
or 4th of July.
What? Oh my God, no.
Right?
That's excessive. That whole Christmas in July thing, I never got on that train.
No, I'm like, leave Santa in Bermuda, damn it. Jesus.
Send me there.
Truth.
That would be fun. But so sometimes, I mean, the girls usually talk about catch up and stuff like that. And I mean, we could do that, but you guys don't
I
know.
think we just took a whole chunk for catch up.
We really did. So we're covering some spooky tales of our own because, well, we just couldn't find anybody else's that made a lot of sense that we wanted to talk about. So, Shauna, why don't you start us out? Tell us about some of your spooky stuff.
All right, let's see. I guess we could go with my favorite one. And it was the year I decided, okay, so this year I kind of woke up and chose violence as far as ghosts go. I've always been afraid of ghosts. And so I have a haunting clause. Anything before like 1960 is in my haunting clause. And I'm like, F that. I am not staying there. We are not living there. We are not buying there. We are not purchasing there. I'm not walking there, nothing. So this year I was kind of like, screw it. I'm not afraid of ghosts anymore. Or maybe 2 years ago now. And I go up to this island every year to swim a race. And so it's considered the most haunted place in the state of Michigan. And I'm like, whatever. And accurate. I mean, several wars, mass slaughter of the native peoples, white people. What are you going to do? And so I was like, okay. And so they said it was the most haunted place to stay at this B&B I was staying at. And I was like, screw it. I need sleep. I got a race coming. I can't. And it was such an interesting thing because we stayed there and I was like, I'm not afraid of you no more. Unfortunately, this ghost had a sense of humor. So, I mean, best thing ever. I walk out at like 4 a.m. the day of my race because I got there like the night before and it's like 4 a.m. and this girl is in her bed sheet, no clothes on, no cap, and she's banging on her door because it locked. And these were key locks into the rooms. They're old school, so they're key locks into the rooms. And she's knocking on the door, but her fiance had noise canceling headset on, couldn't hear her. 4 a.m, she's trying to figure out how to pick this damn lock. I'm like, well, I don't have any hair, anything, because I have short hair. So I was like, I'm sorry, I got nothing. She's looking at all like the cleaning cupboards. I'm like, well, why don't you just go wake like the caretaker of the B&B? Like, this is making no sense to me. But I was not 4 a.m. I'm not talkative, so that's what you get.
Right.
So I go back in and I'm like, I guarantee. And she was like, it was unlocked and I didn't bring my key. And I was like, I damn well guarantee this is the ghost sense of humor. So she gets locked out. So every time after that, I made sure I had my key. And lo and behold, like our doors would just slam and lock. And because I'd leave them open as I'm walking just across the hall to the bathroom, and they would just slam and lock sometimes. And so like mine slammed, and I was like, damn it. And I had my key on me, so I just unlock it. I'd be like, really? To an empty room. But I was like, it happened at least 3 times, but it was very random, but it was very known by the end of that weekend that most of us knew who were staying in that place that this was the ghost sense of humor, which is way better than the window fan flying at us at 3 a.m. that one time we stayed over at Cena's house, Dustin. Oh my god.
Oh my god. No.
Yes.
Listen, like I've got one story in my years.
I've got like 5.
So back in the day, like, when I was young and adventurous and living life on my own in the big world, I moved to this little town called Ashland, Ohio.
Oh Jesus.
Middle
Sorry.
country. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I'm renting this little 2-story house, and I was there by myself. And I remember I'm one of those people, like, in order to sleep at night, I have a fan on and my door is shut and locked,
Sure.
like bedroom. I'm just weird. Like, murderer might get through my front door, but I'll know by the time they get to my bedroom to knock me out. So I had everything shut, everything locked. Like, I don't watch TV going to sleep or anything like that. So I woke up. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was 3:01 a.m. on the dot. My alarm clock was there. I woke up and I'm like, oh, my eyes are hazy. It's like it's foggy. I'm blinking, rubbing my eyes or whatever.
Foggy. Because it's just foggy inside.
I thought there for a second, I was like, fog's outside, stupid. It must be smoke. And I was like, oh shit, the house is
it must be smoke. Cuddles back
like,
into bed.
But there's no fire alarm going off. Like, I'm looking. I was like, what the hell is this? So I like get my flashlight on my iPhone, because that was the thing to do back in the day. That was an early feature. I turned it on and you could just see this. I don't know how to describe it, but it was like this white mist or whatever, and it like
Jesus.
It was like halfway up the room, and when I turned my light on, it started going down, and it like went up under the bedroom door.
Fuck no.
I was like,
no,
yeah.
no, that's a nope.
So Cena's dad, Patrick, gave me this little cross, and it's got Christ on it, and I always had it hanging on my wall.
Mm-hmm.
People, shit you not, it was upside down.
Jesus, no.
Yep, I was out.
No.
I remember going to Cena's that morning, like I couldn't sleep. I sat in my car.
Oh, Jesus.
And I went to our house first thing in the morning. I was like, I didn't want to wake you up, but listen, listen to this. And I told her, and then I told Patrick, and then Patrick went to church, got holy water in a bottle, and told me exactly what to do through the whole house. I'll be damned. If I had enough holy water, I would have sprayed the entire house inside and out. Like
it would fire, just set it on fire, like a spider, just on fire.
So, needless to say, that was my very short-lived housing experience there, because I was out. I was like, "Yep, no, this is not for me." And
in my parents' home, like sometimes we'll hear walking on the floor, but like this is my second home that I had with my parents. So in my parents' home, my first home I'll go into, but my second home that reminded me, like there was one day I was probably junior in high school, and I was talking. It was dark. It wasn't even late. It was like 9:30, It was just dark out.
Right.
And glowing blue haze in the corner of my room. And I'm like, oh, hell no, because of my childhood home, which I'll go into. I was like, we are not doing this again.
Oh my.
So like you walk into, and I think it's gone now, but like when you walk into my childhood bedroom, like there was just like all these Christ pictures in one corner. I was like, nah, we ain't doing this. And I heard this is the way to get rid of them. So off they go. Like, and it never ever bothered me again, which is good. But sometimes you'll hear them like walking on the hallway floor there. And I'm like, but I wouldn't consider that haunted. I'm like, somebody just visited. They were just visiting.
Right.
All right. And so my childhood home. So we're going to talk about when I was like from 4 until I was 11. Uh okay, so I did say that in the 19 like anything 1960s and above, but I should change that to the 1980s was my hunting clause because this house was built in 1960. I don't know who was hanging out there, but whatever that person was either died in the house, which I think I heard, was probably in the KKK and was probably worshiping Satan. Like this was the most evil presence I have ever in my life. And he was like a 6 foot tall or taller, big ball man. And I was like, oh, hell no. Like all this stuff just all the time when we were younger. I was terrified of this image and presence all night long. I was terrified. And the thing is as I got older, I was like, I was probably just imagining shit. Because there was one day where I totally thought that Peter Pan was hiding in the pool table. We ain't going to talk about that. I was 4. It didn't make sense. And if it was, why didn't he just drag me out like he did Wendy? Just kidnap my ass. I don't care how scared I am.
Oh my.
You know, just, I don't want to grow up anyway. So, so I really didn't think much about it after that, other than I was just relieved to be out of that house and away from that presence, and it was just so scary. And then my sisters and I were talking, gosh, this is I had to be going on 10 years ago now. We were all just sitting around a fire, and one of my sisters said something. We both look at her, and I said something. They both look at me. Third one says something. We have all seen and experienced that same person. And
Oh,
so we were all like, oh my God, it was actually haunted.
oh
So,
my
but
God.
I mean, I kid you not, like dark, like the dark actual, it was like a shadow. We called him the Shadow Man. Like he
Oh,
was dark and he was like static. And when he came near you, you felt static all over your body. Like you couldn't even breathe or speak. It was just heebie jeebies.
oh my God.
So
You
I wasn't scared of ghosts, and then you watch stuff like Poltergeist, and I was kind of like, ugh. And then you watch freaking what was it? What's that one with the girl's head rotating and shit?
oh God.
You know what I'm talking about?
I can picture it. But
Yeah, the Exorcism,
yeah, that
The
one.
Exorcist. Yeah,
The Exorcist.
exorcism is what she needed. Sometimes, sometimes it's just a bad day, and you just need to get the girl some Starbucks. But
Always need the Starbucks.
I'm still drinking my Starbucks from today, by the way. I
Oh,
I get 2 Starbucks a day, so, like, don't judge, I'm bougie. But it was like I watched Exorcism when I was 18, and I kid you not, I can't watch anything anymore. I stopped at, like, Harry Potter 4. I can't watch certain Disney movies. Like, I have got to be like, I am so afraid of stuff now. I'm such a scaredy cat, and everybody knows that.
oh my God. Things don't like really ever scare me. And like, so up to the point where I lived in that house, I
Mhm.
never ever believed in anything supernatural, ghosts. It's like, okay,
I go back and forth, and now I'm just like, I'm just gonna accept it for what it is.
right. That's kind of where I'm at this point because it's like, you see all the shows on TV, and I
Mhm.
can't think of the names of them, but Will he loves watching those ones. There's that guy
Hell no,
from,
the ghost hunters. Yes, no.
but
Mm-mm.
is that what that is? The guy from New
Yes.
York, and then that's that lady that goes around
Yes, I think they're called the
separate the
ghost
whole
hunters.
time, and
Yes.
yeah, that I don't get it. Like, and then they come together and they're like, "Oh, you're haunted." Mm.
Well, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, right. And my beliefs only go so far. Again, when I was living in Europe, like everything there is old.
Hmm.
Like old to us is like, woo, we got a modern house built in 1803, like
Right.
real young.
Back in
And
the
so right. So when you're over there, you're walking where, people have been walking for 10,000 years.
yeah.
Wherever you go over there, the United States being the exception. Yes, the native peoples were here
Hmm.
well before the white people, but I'm talking just purely white people over on their side where they should have stayed. Um, it's just everybody was there already. Like there's not one piece of land that wasn't touched. And if you dig down, you're like, oh look, Roman femurs. Like it's
Right.
literally like 8 inches below the surface. Whenever you go to dig in your backyard, you're like, just call in the damn archaeologist first. Like all the extensions and stuff you were going to put on your porch, you would have had archaeologists out there doing a dig first, because you would have had to go through like, you know, the Anglo-Saxons and the Romans and the, before all of that, and the prehistoric and the Neolithic, like you'd have all of that over there.
God,
And so,
that makes me think of like this story that I read. I think it was over the summer, and I can't remember if it was a king or a knight or something. But they were excavating or doing something in this parking lot of a grocery
oh
store.
yes, that was King Henry.
Wow, that found his whole
Yes.
last body right under the parking lot. Like, what a way to live.
Well,
Well,
I mean, it was the mass grave from the war. That was or wait, no, that was Richard, wasn't it? One of the Richards.
I don't
God, my
remember.
brain just fizzled. I'm sorry. I should
It
know
was
this
just
because it was on a time
wild.
team and I was totally geeking. So yes, it was during I believe, when William the Conqueror came over, or just after, and it was Richard and William. So yeah, it was King Richard, and he was said to have scoliosis, or he was a hunchback, and he was real
Yeah.
short, but it was because he was a hunchback and he had scoliosis. So yes, they found him and confirmed that that was him because the dating was right, and he had the curvature of the spine, and yeah, he was under just the Walgreens parking lot or bullshit like
Yeah.
that.
Like,
But
what are the
you know,
odds?
well, that does bring me to a Henry, King Henry VIII, in fact. So I was down at Dover, and Dover is on the coast there. They talk about the White Cliffs of Dover, and this is that you look across, and that's where you get on the boats, or if you're not taking the Eurostar, which is the channel there, you're taking the ferry boats, and you get on at Dover, and it goes all over to Calais, France. So this is where, people often say in England, the dirty little Frenchmen sitting across the water staring at us. And I'm like, they're really not like that, guys. Like, I had very jaded professors when I lived in England. But um, so I'm down in Dover, and there's Dover Castle right there, which is kind of part of my family heritage. And we're walking around, and you can kind of feel some presences. And they say it's the most haunted castle in England. And I'm like, blah, 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 because, I'm on the fence about the whole supernatural. And I'm walking through, and they're like, this is the bedroom. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's like a freaking closet. You have this giant castle here, because it's one of the bigger ones. And this little side alcove's like the bedroom. And I'm like, well, I guess you wouldn't want to freeze your tits off. But still, can I say that on here? I can say that on here. But it's like, still, I was like looking at the bed, and I was like, so it's like a queen size of a bed, which King Henry the eighth was a massive man in his
Mhm.
older age. And I'm like, I am so sorry for your wives, but granted, they were probably like 4'5" and like 90 pounds.
Right?
So maybe they fit with you. But like this bed, there was not really a fireplace, but there was a window, and I was just kind of questioning it. So I was just standing there, and I was all by myself because group had moved on, and I was like, I just don't see this as appropriate, and then the curtains like bowed out, right? And I was like, oh, huh. Well, I guess there was a drafty breeze in here, so maybe they did and then I stopped and looked, and I was like, there is no draft, there is no wind.
Oh
It's
my
ghost.
god.
And I was
Oh,
like, I'm sorry, granddaddy. I was judging your decorative tips. I'm sorry. I was like, nope. I noped myself out of there. I am not that white girl that's like, woo, it's a ghost. I'm the white girl that's running. I'm like, nah. Mm-mm.
oh my
So,
god. Yeah, no, I don't. Mm-mm. No,
oh,
after my very limited experience, I'm like, yeah, no, if it feels like it's haunted, if it looks like it's haunted, if it's so much it smells like it's haunted, I'm out. Bye. Like,
oh, see, no, because I'm gonna kidnap you, and we're going back over to London. So I was over in London Um, for the Queen's funeral just
Mhm.
recently here in September. And so I was over in London and I landed in London that day and I couldn't check into my hotel. So I was just sitting there with my stuff on my back and I was like, I have got to stay awake. So I had booked myself a tour and it was like plagues, serial killers, and what was it? Plagues, serial killers, and fires or something like that. And I was like, sweet, bring it. Like, I don't do fire. I don't do anything to do with fire. I haven't even read The Great London Fires, even though I have the books. Don't judge. But I was like, sweet. So I go and I meet this tour guide, and there's like four of us. And the first place we stopped was like the best place in the world for me. It was like a kid in a candy store because the time team had dug it. It was the Plague Pit in London from the 14, the 14th century, but the 1347, 48 plague. It actually hit 1349 and 50 over in the UK. And so I'm like, there are thousands upon thousands of bodies, layer upon layer, like lasagna, as they say, under my feet right now. And I was kind of like, y'all, I'm sorry. Like, I was very respectful because the park literally, the paths of the park go over the plague pit. And you're just like, well, I mean, technically, again, there's dead people everywhere. You dig down, they're just there.
Right.
But I was like, this is fantastic. And I was like, I want to come back here at night. So there is one thing you can do in all of Europe, and that is nighttime ghost tours. And
Oh,
so I've done them. Again, another instance was I was in York doing a ghost tour at night, and we were supposed to go on the fun one. Okay. I still have this whole I don't do scary shit going on. I was like 20 years old and we're supposed to go on the fun one. This is after The Exorcist. So I was like, it better be Disney flavored. Okay. I mean, they talked glow sticks and like Happy Man with like balloons and shit. I was like, okay, so we're not going to have a scary one. It was a family fun one. We were supposed to have a good time. It was supposed to be a comedy ghost tour. We got in the wrong damn line
oh my
because
God.
what you meet in like the town centers
Mhm.
and there's multiple tour guides and you're supposed to match up with your group. Well, we got in the wrong one. We got in the real ghost tour.
Oh,
And I
no.
was like, I hate you all. So like we would go around and he was like really creepy and he was dressed like Jack the Ripper, and if he didn't sound like freaking Hannibal, which they were filming while I was over there by the way, if he didn't sound like freaking Hannibal Lecter, I don't know who did. And I was like, I can't do this, Lord Craven. I cannot do this. But I did. And so the worst story he told though was we stopped outside this house and it was again back to the plagues, and this is before I knew and was obsessed with the plague. Um was a house that they used to board people. They said they used to shut people up in the houses. Now, I can debunk his story now because they say they shut them up in their houses and they'd leave them there to die or starve, whatever. That's not the case. Historically, they would open it up every twice a day, in the morning and the evening, and have either the nurse go in or bring the bodies out. And they would make sure everyone had food and water and they would check them. So
Nice.
they didn't leave people there to die. But his story was they shut up the house and the little girl who was about 6 survived because she ended up starving to death because nobody ever went back in and unshut the house. And so she'd come and sit on the end of bed and stuff. And that disturbed the shit out of me because I just pictured this poor little girl.
Right.
And of course, later that night, I find out my freaking hotel room's haunted, and I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. But I'm so much better now, so much more stable.
Oh my God. I've only done one ghost tour ever, and that's when we lived in Wilmington, North Carolina. And we did like this midnight ghost tour thing downtown and
Hmm.
talk about the pirates and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
that was okay. It felt more like showy, if that makes
That's the
sense.
point. It's supposed to be fun.
Well, I mean, it was a good time, but then you had all those people taking pictures of, oh, look at this window in this dark building. There's somebody standing there, and you're looking, you're like,
I don't
"I didn't
see
get
it.
there." No.
Yeah,
Then they take their
no.
picture and they're like, see, it's right here, this person. And I'm like thinking to myself, that's the flash of your freaking camera. Like, come on. It doesn't look like a person, you're imagining things. Anyway.
Right. Do you remember? And maybe you don't, but when filters were first coming out, one of my coworkers scared the shit out of me. So she took a picture and put a filter on it of like a ghostly image,
Yeah.
like looking, and then like her dog staring at this ghost. And so she shows it to me because she knows I'm afraid of ghosts, right? So she shows it to me and says, I took this picture because my dog keeps staring at this wall. And look, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Like I did not sleep for like 2 weeks. And she finally came clean, but I didn't know what a filter was. I was like, I don't know, new to iPhones and stuff like that. And I was like, no. But like I said, last year I was like, screw it. This year I was like, bring it. And so I don't know if I fully came into my white girl mode or what, because white girls do stupid shit. They like travel around the country and do these haunted ghost stays. And I'm like, why? Why
Right.
would you stay in the asylum there in Ohio? Why would you go do that? Like, to me, not my thing.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, perk to you for being adventurous. My adventurous is going to London for the weekend,
Right.
Woo.
That's funny. Well, the last one that I think I know of, and it's not really a scary, spooky story, but it's super weird to me anyway. It's like when this is like 12 years ago, 14 years ago, maybe. I don't remember. I worked as a graphic designer for a print on demand company, right? So
Mhm.
people would order t-shirts, mugs, whatever, upload their
Mhm.
photos and have them printed on there. And so I was the person that was responsible for like going through and just making sure the material was print ready, like it wasn't too dark or too saturated and all that.
Oh god, you saw some scary shit, didn't
Oh,
you?
there were some good ones. But this one, I only had one, excuse me, I only had one that was ever really creepy. Like it weirded me out because you
Mhm.
could tell that it wasn't an image that was altered by anybody. Like any really good graphic designer can tell if an image has been altered.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I go in to edit this photo
That
and
was a side brag, by the way.
it was no. So it was this photo. So this family was doing t-shirts for
Mhm.
a funeral. It was like a grandmother or great aunt that had passed. And so
Mm-mm,
they had like this
mm-mm.
picture of her sitting in this chair in front of a window. And like we're talking in a house that has like 7 or 8 foot windows, like an old house that has huge
Mhm.
windows. And she's sitting there and there's a dog, but the dog's not looking at the camera. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's whatever. It's hard to get dogs to look at windows or, look at the camera or whatever. And it's nighttime outside, or I'm assuming it was because it was very dark. And I had to brighten up the photo and do some adjustment.
Oh, hell no.
As I adjust the contrast, something caught my eye in one of the window panes. And I'm like, what is that? Like, what's something on
Mm-mm.
the lens? And so like I zoomed in a little bit. It was a very high quality resolution photo, I will tell you that. Because I zoomed into this thing, swear to God, there was a face of somebody that was not quite human in that window pane.
That's how grandma died. I'm sorry.
So it looked like a dude, some creepy evil dude, literally was in the window pane closest to the grandma sitting on the chair. And
Hell no.
the dog was looking in that direction.
Mm-mm.
And it was so weird. I straight up swear to God,
I
I
wouldn't have
threw
slept
my
for like
mouse down
5
on
days.
the thing and I like rolled back. And my friend Heather came up. She's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "You need to look at this." And she looked at it. She's like, "Are you punking me?" And I was like, "Oh my God, no! Like, I don't have time to do this. Like, somebody else has sent this in." Freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah, I
So
wouldn't have slept. No.
I called the person that had placed the order, and I was like, "Hey, that photo, could you send me a replacement? I think something weird happened, and I just want to make sure I have the best possible photo." So she's like, "Yeah, sure." Resent it. Same thing.
Hell no.
That
Mm-mm.
has never left my mind.
No, it doesn't. Like I said, that's what used to spook me so bad. But now that I have decided to embrace my afterlife life dream of being a Grim Reaper,
There you
a
go.
cute one. I told you this, right? Like, I know I
If
told the
it's not
girls.
a job, you're taking it.
No, right. It's a job. Um, so so my whole afterlife goal, because Virgos do that, we plan. My
Very,
whole
very much.
my whole afterlife goal is to become a very cute little Grim Reaper. And I'm sorry if you hear the cat yowling behind me because they're mad that I locked them up, but it's bedtime. But they I want to become a Grim Reaper and I want to create. So there, I know Cena and Nicole had done a podcast on the levels of hell.
Yeah.
And so some say 7, some say 9. And so from where this comes from, there's 9 levels of hell. Well, again, my OCD does not allow me to have odd numbers. That is a no. So I need to create the 10th level anyway to make it Virgo perfect. So I'm like, I will become a Reaper. I will go ahead and create the 10th level of hell, and it'll be the worst level of hell, and it'll be purely for pedophiles and politicians. Like,
Special
so
ed.
I'm like, right. I have this urge sometimes with particularly evil people to reap their soul and shove them someplace very, very terrible for the rest of eternity. And I'm like, obviously, I need to be a Reaper because,
Right.
Daddy Satan's already taken. So
Oh my God.
right, I'm totally gonna go to hell for that.
Well, you'll start out at level 1.
Right, and I figure at level 1, I can bargain and become a Reaper. I mean, to me, I'm just like, someone said, "Well, you're just like the bouncer of heaven," and I'm like, "Nah, I think that's already taken by Paul or Peter, whoever stands there at the pearly gates." They're like, "No, you're kind of like the purgatory bouncer." I was like, "Why would we waste time in purgatory? Like, don't waste my time." That's a level. Is that level 1, by the way? The endless waiting room.
Yeah, which does not work out for those of us that are very. I have limited patience.
So for you, that'd be like level 5 or 6.
Well,
But yeah,
Oh,
that's my afterlife plan.
my word. Oh, well, I don't have any other spooky stories to share, but I know the girls always kind of finish everything off
Mhm.
with like, what's their hyperfixation of the week? And
Sure.
for me, like it is cold here, as Cena and Nicole recently said. It got cold in Ohio. Well, now it's cold in St. Louis. And
So you're telling me it's going to get cold here because it's
it's
not right now.
it's going to get quite chilly. But
Hmm.
like it's weird because here in the Midwest, right, you hear about people out this way, they're like, oh my God, we get a lot of snow and everything. Last year we got like 4 inches of snow and most of it's melted by the end of the
I
day.
was like, I don't think we got any of that.
Yeah, it
We
does.
got 0 like last year.
Yeah, and like so it's cool here. It's not like Northeast Ohio cold. Like they're
Right. Like
bones
we have
coming through.
frost. I was like, we have frost in the morning and then we have like 50.
Yeah, right. So
That's
like
not cold.
it's much much cooler. Like the days here are
Mhm.
like in the low to mid 60s or maybe
Mhm.
high 50s, which sounds cool enough, right, for a jacket, whatever. So every time that this weather hits, all I want to do is look at Pinterest and Instapot recipes so I can make.
You go for it. I'm a soup person in the winter too. And in the summer, all I want is like corn on the cob and watermelon
Yeah,
from like late spring until like just recently. And now I'm like, bring me the stew. And I can make a mean stew because my ancestors, right?
listen. So tonight it is the Olive Garden version of chicken gnocchi soup because I can make that to a T, and I have wanted it forever.
I like the Super Toscana, the cream. It's like I know how to make that to a T, but I also can make fondue to a T. And if you give me a refrigerator and a crock pot, I will give you my ancestors' stew. Like I just need a meat, a few vegetables, we good. And sometimes you get like chicken and sausage, like the andouille kielbasa. Like I can make it cream, I can make it not. Like it just whatever I throw in, and
I
it's
just
stew.
I love it. Like, so I'm on the struggle bus because right now, so the girls have mentioned it a few times, right? So I have
Mhm.
the new house, which I've been working on.
Right. Forever, might I
Forever.
say.
It's like a year and a few months now, but we're
Yeah.
almost at the point of moving in, and like that the kitchen at the other house that I'm at
Mhm.
is like the size of Harry Potter's room under the stairs. It's very very small, so you can either use the
Don't judge
stove
it.
or you can use the Instapot. That's it. There's no in between. There's no using them both. It doesn't work that way. So
Oh,
I've gotten to that point in time like where it's cool enough outside and all I want to do is start making the soups and things that I enjoy making because you can, oh my
mhm.
God, you can make anything in an Instapot. Oh,
Right. You
best
can.
best freaking
I
ever.
don't use them because I am terrified of like pressure cookers and stuff. So my husband will Instapot. Okay, they just threw themselves over here. Sorry. I have
Yeah.
a chicken run holding my cats. And so when they take a flying leap, I think they have flown out of the chicken coop, but it's enclosed. But it was just like, did somebody just land behind me?
That's funny.
But yes, my husband uses the Instapot because I'm still kind of afraid of it because of all the horror stories. And my parents and my grandparents always used the old ones that could explode on you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I was taught to never go near a pressure cooker, and it stays with my scared ass.
Yeah.
So
So I was super nervous about it when right before I first got one, because I was going to get one that was not the Instapot brand. I was looking at
mhm.
another one because it was a lot cheaper, and you're like, oh, well, let's save a few dollars.
Well,
Buy
no.
this one.
No, it's gotta
And
be
then
Instapot.
that's where I heard about the stories coming in. They're like, no, don't do this because
Right.
boom.
Yes. Boom is right. You get some potato up in there, it's done.
So I went and bought I have a couple Instapots, but the one I just got last year is like that big Instapot and air fryer thing, and you can make food
Mhm.
for like a small army in it, and it's great. So that's my little hyperfixation thing is that it's time to cook. And
Well, my hyperfixation is gonna take an entire left turn from well, maybe, I don't know, it's just as gay. So sorry. Sorry, not sorry. 2 gays getting together, gay shit's gonna go down. So you're talking about Pinterest and and Instapots, and I'm gonna talk about my new fixation, which is I never knew I needed this in my life until now. I open up and I have never, ever, 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 ever read fan fiction because I'm like, I cannot, right? Most of the time, I cannot. And then I myself had written a really decent fan fiction, and I'm gonna toot my own horn. Toot toot. A really good fan fiction relating to an unwritten sixth sister of the Bennets for Pride and Prejudice. So I was getting on this app to put down some of my novels and stuff because it's all copywritten, it's all protected, like it's good, and a lot of people are publishing or getting publishing deals off this app. So I'm like, let's go for this.
right.
So I just haven't obviously had the guts to do that, but I totally fell down the wormhole of I had no idea. But apparently, we all need this in life. We need Harry Potter to end up with Draco Malfoy at the end of the whole series. I'm like, how did I not even think about the fact that instead of being mortal enemies, this is just a giant sexual tension that needs to. And so I have gone down that rabbit hole so hard that I literally have in my to read list right now 99 stories.
Oh my
And
god.
I will plow through those by probably Wednesday. Not even kidding. Like I'm starting to actually go through the stuff that I was checking off. And then I get into little tropes. It's like, I don't know. Today was what creature inheritance, which I didn't know anything about. I didn't even know that was a trope. I didn't even know there were rules to that. But apparently, like when you come of age, the pure blood families have like this creature blood in the background, and you get these inheritances, and then they have like these assigned mates, and it's always Harry and Draco, right?
Right.
But it's like they see each other and they've always been enemies, but now they're madly in love with each other. And I'm kind of like, if you bring on the smut, I'll read you.
Right.
And some of them don't. There has been at least 2 that I've read that maybe had smut, but that was not the focus. If they
Yeah.
didn't have smut, it was fine. That I have a reading list that's public that is like must become a book. And I
Yeah.
think the best one I ever read was called Blind. See, this is a hyperfixation. Listen to me go. But it's called Blind. And it was like 5 years after the Wizarding War, the second Wizarding War, the last book. And I know you don't know Harry Potter that much, but Draco
I
and
lived
Harry.
under a
So
rock for many years, okay?
sometimes some of us come out and then go under a rock, and some of us stay in the closet for 20 years, like me.
You know,
Um, the closet's comfortable, like the cupboard under the stairs,
right?
metaphorically speaking. Anyway, so this one was really good because it was like taking place 5 years or so after. And so it was called Blind because with Draco being a Death Eater, they had put down all these laws about what Death Eaters can and can't do. And it was very, very interesting because back with the KKK and everything, some of these laws really mirrored that. And we're not going to say J.K. Rowling steals her shit, but sometimes she steals her shit. And so, like, this was like that. And I was kind of like, well, yeah, they would deserve it, right? Unless there's a gray area like Draco, who kind of came over to the good side. And don't judge me. I haven't watched the 7th movie because, as we remember, I'm afraid to watch scary things. So after the 4th movie, I couldn't watch the movies, did read the books. Read the 7th book backwards, so I knew what happened first. Because I couldn't take the suspense. So I had to read it in reverse. Anyway, so that being said, he is cursed blind. And so he ends up a beggar on like Diagon Alley. And he's living under the bridge that divides like Diagon Nocturne Alley from Muggle London.
Mhm.
And like some of the homeless muggles watch after him, and there's like a squib that kind of goes between, but he hasn't said he's a squib, and Draco's blind. And he wears, a wrap around his eyes so people can't tell it's his eyes. And he puts a spell on his hair so that it's dark and not light, because everybody can spot a Malfoy because they have this white blonde hair.
Mhm.
And Harry is this sweet little Auror, which is their police officer, who's doing his rotation on Diagon Alley on the beat, so to speak. He's the foot officer that day, or that couple months or 3 months or whatever, because he was getting just way too intense out in the field. They needed to take it back a notch. Surprise, Harry intense, right? Well, he ends up just making friends with this guy, and he wouldn't tell him his name or anything because he knows it's Harry, but Harry doesn't know it's him. And so it's just a really cute, like, will they, won't they, will they, won't they, when will he find out, when will he know? And then like he kind of figures it out, and then he kind of rescues them, and they have to go through like the trauma of the war, and like
Right.
they end up together, but it's just really, really sweet.
Wow.
And it like spans like, I don't know, 4 years. And it was just really interesting because it was like a blood curse, so you can't reverse those.
Right.
After a certain, because it's exponential, so after a certain amount of time it's like permanent, so they just assumed it was permanent. And then all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 years after they start dating to the day, which happened to be like Christmas Eve or whatever, like he gets his eyesight back.
Oh,
Yeah, it was really good, so I'll send it to you because it's actually really good. And you don't have to know the Harry Potter by canon to do these, because these are not totally canon.
oh. So we know 2 things. 1, Shauna is like the Energizer Bunny when it comes to Harry Potter fanfic. And 2,
Nope, just the hyperfixations. I'll be done next week.
for the next book club, this is probably where we're going. So be prepared, everybody.
Wow. I think I should put blind on the next book club.
Well, that being said, those are our hyperfixations, and we hope you guys enjoyed this episode with the parents, as we called this the Parent Takeover edition.
Meet the parents.
Meet the parents. If you like us, comment on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let the girls know, and we'll be back.
Right. So if you didn't appreciate it, our names are Genevieve and Guinevere. And if you did like us, we're Dustin and Shauna, right? Or Daddy and Poppy. That's fine too.
That's right. Daddy and Poppy signing off on the Wife Wednesday Radio Network. Until next time, everybody, have a good one.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode.
This week's show was recorded by yours truly in our studio in Ohio.
Our show is edited, mixed, and published by the team at Lead Up Studios, and our executive producer is Dustin,
AKA Daddy.
You've been listening to the Wife Wednesday podcast.
Until next time, bye!
You've been listening to the Wife Wednesday Radio Network. Wife Wednesday is produced by Lead Up Studios in St. Louis, Missouri. Sound mastering and final production is handled by me, Dustin. Be sure to find, like, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to share the show with your friends. New episodes from the Wife Wednesday Radio Network drop every Wednesday on all major podcast platforms in the U.S. and abroad. To contact the show directly, please email us at info@wifewednesdaypod.com. Thanks for listening.